42nd chapter. Here is my servant whom I uphold, my chosen in whom my soul delights. I have put my spirit upon him. He will bring forth justice to the nations. He will not cry out or lift up his voice, or make it heard in the streets. A bruised reed he will not break, and a dimly burning wick he will not quench. He will faithfully bring forth justice. He will not grow faint or be crushed until he has established justice in the earth, and the coastlands wait for his teaching. Thus says God, the Lord, who created the heavens and stretched them out, who spreads out the earth and what comes from it, who gives breath to the people upon it, and spirit to those who walk in it. I am the Lord, I have called you in righteousness. I have taken you by the hand and kept you. I have given you as a covenant to the people, a light to the nations, to bring out the prisoners from the dungeon, for the prison those who sit in darkness. I am the Lord, that is my name. My glory I give to no other, nor my praise to idols. See, the former things have come to pass, and new things I now declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Ascribe to the Lord, you gods. Ascribe to the Lord glory and strength.
Ascribe to the Lord the glory due God's name. Worship the Lord in the beauty of holiness.
The voice of the Lord is upon the waters. The God of glory thunders. The Lord is upon the mighty waters.
The voice of the Lord is a powerful voice. The voice of the Lord is a voice of splendor.
The voice of the Lord breaks the cedar trees. The Lord breaks the cedars of Lebanon.
The Lord makes Lebanon skip like a calf, and Mount Hermon like a young wild ox.
The voice of the Lord bursts forth in lightning flashes.
The voice of the Lord shakes the wilderness. The Lord shakes the wilderness of Kadesh.
The voice of the Lord makes the oak trees wither and strips the forest bare. And in the temple of the Lord all are crying glory.
The Lord sits enthroned above the flood. The Lord sits enthroned as King forevermore.
O Lord, give strength to your people. Give them, O Lord, the blessings of peace. The second reading is from Acts, the 10th chapter. Peter began to speak to Cornelius and his household. I truly understand that God shows no partiality, but in every people, anyone who fears him and practices righteousness is acceptable to him. You know the message he sent to the people of Israel, preaching peace by Jesus Christ. He is Lord of all. That message spread throughout Judah, beginning in Galilee after the baptism that John announced, how God anointed Jesus of Nazareth, and with the Holy Spirit and with power, how he went about doing good and healing all who were oppressed by the devil, for God was with him. We are witnesses to all that he did, both in Judea and in Jerusalem. But they put him to death by hanging him on a tree. But God raised him on the third day and allowed him to appear, not to all the people, but to us, who were chosen by God as witnesses, and who ate and drank with him after he rose from the dead. He commanded us to preach to the people and to testify that he is the one ordained by God as judge of the living and the dead. All the prophets testify about him that everyone who believes in him receives forgiveness of sins through his name. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. So this is one of our short gospel readings. So I invite us just to remain seated for our gospel message today. I don't want anybody to get too much effort on your knees here today. But as we acclaim our gospel, Alleluia, a voice from heaven said, "This is my Son, the Beloved." The Holy Gospel according to Matthew, the 3rd chapter. Now Jesus came from Galilee to John at the Jordan to be baptized by him. John would have prevented him, saying, "I need to be baptized by you, and you come to me?" But Jesus answered him, "Let it be so now, for it is proper for us in this way to fulfill all righteousness." Then he consented. And when Jesus had been baptized, just as he came up from the water, suddenly the heavens were opened to him, and he saw God's Spirit descending like a dove and alighting on him. And a voice from the heaven said, "This is my Son, the beloved, with whom I am well pleased." This is the gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Christ.
You may remain, see, that's why I get messed up when I try and do something different. But if any of the kids want to come forward, Rosalind, you want to come forward? Awesome. I really like your shoes. Those are really cool shoes, Rosalind. All good. Cecil, nice boots. And Greta, that outfit is just perfect. Love it. And Evelyn, you've got your reading in for the week, I think, with how many words you had to read, right? That was a lot. But it's powerful. And I like to think of some of our old stories. Okay. What's your favorite story to hear right now, or to read in Evelyn's case? The what car?
The Lost Lamb.
The Lost Lamb. That's a cool story. Cecil, what do you like to hear? I couldn't quite understand. I'm sorry. What do you like to hear your mom or your dad or maybe your sisters or brother read to you? You like when your dad reads to you and he tells some pretty good stories. The Lost Lamb is a good one. Rosalind, do you have a story you like? Do you like hearing about dinosaurs? Yep, you like to see dinos. And we can see all of these cool things. But it's interesting, I think about dinosaurs. Okay, so dinosaurs, do they exist anymore? No. Okay. We have this thing in church called prophets. Yeah, go ahead, Greta. You're stepping on them no matter what when they're buried, correct? Right, because they get compressed, or if we look at a side of a wall, if we see dinosaurs, maybe that's their water dinosaurs or stuff like that, right? Yeah, but I'm interested because when we think about dinosaurs, Howie's a good name. Howie the dinosaur, that's a good name. Yeah, but they tell us a lot of stories, like dinosaurs, even if they aren't with us anymore, they tell us some pretty cool stories. Or like The Lost Lamb or some of the stories that your dad reads to you. Evelyn, what's your favorite book to read right now? Ooh, I'm putting you on the spot. So never mind, we'll go back to dinosaurs. I'm sure you liked dinosaurs when you were Cecil's age, right? No! How could you not like dinosaurs, Evelyn? See, okay, now we're getting the good things about if dinosaurs are really an important part of our childhoods, right? But even though dinosaurs aren't around anymore, what I like to kind of think is, do they still teach us? Actually, they do, right? Because we can study their fossils and we can say, oh, how did they live? Or we can learn about, did you know that that Africa and South America once were connected? Yes, because they found the same dinosaur bones on both continents. And so even though they're separated, it tells us about what things were, and maybe it'll tell us about what will happen if we die and what it'll be like in millions and millions of years when people walk all over us, right? Right, Greta? That would be kind of cool, wouldn't it? Our legacy that we have. Yeah, Greta, what do you have to say?
And she studied dinosaurs and fossils, and it all started with the eye, and then she also studied the dinosaurs' poop.
Yep, you got to study dinosaur poop, right?
Yeah.
Yuck! Isn't that yuck? But that tells us what they ate, right? So even all this weird stuff, they are amazing stories that even after things are long gone, they tell us so much more. Now, what do you think is the best story of all time? Ooh, Anne Frank is a good one. Has something to do with church. What's a good church answer? Jesus. Thank you, Ellen. So is Jesus not the best story ever?
No.
No. What do you think, Greta?
He is the best.
He is the best story. So we think of the story of Jesus. Jesus is going to exist so much beyond what dinosaurs or anything will learn from us because he's always going to be there. So I really like that idea. So let's put our hands in and let's say Howie on 3 because Howie the dinosaur is a good name, right? 1, 2, 3. Howie! Good job. All right, thanks guys for your work. Greta, can I get a high five again for your help? No, air 5. So invisible. But I was really struck, Evelyn, as you were reading from our Romans passage, or not Romans, from Acts, but thinking about Paul. He's talking to Cornelius. And if we want to look at that last little bit in Romans, it was just fascinating because so many times, especially here around Christmas, we hear about this is what the prophets foretold, correct? Or this is the fulfillment of the prophecy. And so when I look at our second reading here in Acts, it is verse 43. Okay. All the prophets testify. So, is that past, as all the prophets testified about him and what was to come? No. It's present. All the prophets testify. So we have prophets in the story there in Acts, but does that also mean the prophets yet to come? I certainly hope so. When we think about that option and we think about prophecies and fulfilling this grand thing, but to me, hearing Paul talk about prophets, talks about it not just as something, oh, you know the prophets, you know Isaiah and Jeremiah. No, the prophets are with us. They tell the story. Whether it's the story of the lost lamb, whether it is the little engine that could, they tell the story of Jesus. And because it is present tense, do you think that they are only testifying about what happened? Or do they testify about what is happening? What is happening? I know I'm kind of a grammar nut, that I enjoy this appreciation of what we look at when we look at something not in the past, but what is now. Or what will be. What is to be. Interesting, always talking with kids and talking about childhood. And Kelsey, I will point you out, to think about what you guys will be doing with your kids and carrying on some of those same traditions that you guys received as you were kids or something new. But as we bury Kenny this week, as we think about our own childhoods, how long ago that might have been or how soon ago that was, or what they will be down the road, the generations. What is the constant and what is the new? We have stories. We have different ways to hear those stories. We have how we learn. Do we learn how to count? How we learn how to read? Sometimes it's on a tablet. Other times it's just what we hear in our ears. How do we understand? How do we hear the stories? It's like that visual thing I was kind of talking about last week for those who are here. That visual of what it really is to be with, to see Jesus in action. And so the prophets that proclaim the greatest story ever told, to take a cliche, to hear the greatest story ever told of God and God's self coming to us, wading in the water and troubling that water, not just to make trouble, but to make good trouble. That great story that's going to say no matter what happens, it isn't all the good, but it is the good and the bad that happens, that God is going to be with us. That greatest story. And we look at how many, okay, Jody, how many kids' Bibles do you have at your house? Or maybe not Bibles, how many like storybooks? Only 2 or 3? Oh yeah, you think about how many we get. We have this ability to tell this story in a way that is going to reach. We aren't going to look at, and then Paul went out and was executed in Rome. That's going to play well with a toddler. No. We learn about who Jesus is, the great birth, the story, walking with kids, walking with people that need healing. That will preach. And then we get to understand that as we wade in the story, wade in the water, it is a water that is troubling because our lives are troubling. There is so much going on in our own lives and the world around, and we know that Jesus is going to be there just as God was in the time of the dinosaurs, as God will be when the earth is no more. God is there, turning up that water, stirring it up. Not just to stir it up, but to know that we ourselves are tempted to stir it up. So God's going to stir it up with us. And is going to call those prophets of our lives to tell it, not just in our childhood, not just in confirmation class, not just in Sunday school, not just in college or on-the-job training, but every day as we encounter the prophets of our own life. Calling to hear that story. And that story sounds different because it does not just exist in the pages of the Bible, but it exists also in everything we do. It is however you want to see. I don't like the term how they said, and the sky was alight when the clouds were parted at the baptism of Jesus. But it is made a light. We are made a light to hear the good stories, to know that we are providing the stories of one another. Whether we are parents, whether we are sons or daughters, whether we are just somebody who happens to see somebody across the road. Doesn't matter. We are the story. We are the prophets. Because as God calls, this is my son, the beloved, because he says that, because God says that in front of everyone, we ourselves are the beloved. Called to be that light, giving new life. And yes, wading in that water, stirring up the water, as we know that God is there with us each and every day. Amen.